So this is what happens to anything that doesn't have magic squares. This was a plant formerly known as a blackberry that I actually spent money on. And what I need to do now is cut back that damage and put a magic square around it. Anything that I don't have covered with magic squares gets killed. I had quite a few more raspberries back here before I opened things up, and now the raspberries are getting killed. So what I should do is just mulch in here and not let the ducks back in again. Or I need to just have each individual plant have a magic square set around it, which gets very expensive very quickly, but this kind of makes me sad. The other thing we're starting to have a problem with back here is shade. That pear tree's huge. The Nanking cherries are huge. The autumn olive is huge. Everything is getting so big. Oh my gosh, I just saw a gooseberry. Okay, this is where I just took the magic squares from. See that? How they kind of just wrapped around. Hi kitty, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is where I took the magic squares from. The reason I like them is because they're self-supporting, but I just saw a ripe gooseberry. And I want to go eat it. Where was it? There it is. Okay, gooseberries are prickly. See how big this beautiful thing is? The nice thing is if you can let your birds in here, they'll eat all the little looper type worms. Okay, I can't get around here. So I'm gonna go ahead and move these back. See, they're not like chicken wire. They hold themselves up. It's why I have an addiction. Not ashamed to say it's an addiction. It's a disease, not a choice. All right, there's my gooseberries. I have an actual ripe gooseberry. So I'm gonna take it under the filament and eat it. Here's a not ripe gooseberry. I'm gonna eat it too. At this point in the season, if I were to come out and just put a whole bunch of mulch down, I probably wouldn't have to water again. And it'd probably be a good idea. I think they're getting too much water. But you can see the shade problem. Hi guys. Even here. Remember how Paige put those cartons down to try and protect the little cherries from the ducks? That was super effective, wasn't it? Very frustrating. The ducks will leave it alone if it's not in water, but if it's in water, they'll come through and they'll just push everything over. Because they want to get at the bugs in the water. So, totally safe behind magic squares. The problem is, see, more use of magic squares. More use of magic squares. The problem is, it takes a lot of magic squares to do a project. See? Another magic square. What's he doing, kitty? Are you eating your food? Alright, so the problem with magic squares, here's a good example of a great magic square cage. Covers the top. I actually don't need one on the top because the ducks don't reach in and over the top. What the top one does is it squares off the cover. And when you're putting in perennials, it's really nice because then you can put, you know, a shirt over the top of something so that they're not getting too much sunshine. And then I just use landscaping fabric pins to hold down the bottom, and then the ducks can't get into it. Tomato cages, just don't cut it. That's a mature plant that's now probably a little stressed out. But there's another cage, and it just has a feed sack on it. I need to get that guy water. Anyway, again, shade has become more of a problem. I'd really like to let the ducks in here, but I don't have enough magic squares to protect all my little perennials. Even though the ducks would be fantastic, I would really like to get the ducks in here. Because they would just flatten all the weeds, and they would fertilize, and they would probably eat quite a bit of the sunchokes. I would really like to just get them in here, but I need to protect everything individually. So there's some more, and then there's this basket to keep that little rose from getting killed. But I mean, you can see the problem with the weeds. I really would do better to have the ducks in here. These are potatoes. Alright, with the magic squares, I want you to see there's something living right next to the living squares. It's doing just fine. Right next to it. Alright, now I'm going to show you a regular pet fence. And I want you to see that a whole 12 inches in, nothing is alive all the way along there. And that's because with these fences, these just normal pet fences, the ducks can get their heads through. And so they will eat everything that they can reach. Okay, I'm just going to cut it, and then I'm going to put magic squares around it. I'm going to put this Dirtpatcheaven fence around it too, but around this particular plant, I want it to spread more, and to do that I need to make sure I remember which one it is. You can see how they just mangled it. Instead of doing 3 squares, I did 4, and that way they can't munch on the leaves. It keeps it a little further away from the plant. Again, this is a blackberry. Find the right pliers. Find my hog rings, and I'll just close it off and go get some landscape fabric pins. It only needs to be 1 high because we're only keeping ducks out. Chickens, they need it 2 high. So there we go. And then there's my pins. now I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna just put some cages around this so I don't have to think about it anymore. I'm trying to get all the way up and around these raspberries. These are pretty cool. They're great to use as like a protective fence, but for individual plants like what I did with the blackberry, the magic squares work better for this. But this is cute. I think this is super cute. Alright, modern day tomato cages are crap. When I was a kid, they were very sturdy. They didn't break like this. Now, the fact that I put this on some of those raspberries saved their lives. The ducks would have just knocked them over. I have quite a few over there that are completely knocked over. Their leaves are still up like this, but the bramble itself is laying down. And so these did save some of those raspberry brambles. But this doesn't have enough structural integrity to keep a duck out. Alright, I've got 1, 2, maybe 3 more of these wonderful things. I'm loving them. And I might look into actually buying these so that I have my magic squares to cover individual plants, because this was super easy. A little stake. Let's see if I can show you. The little stake there just drops through here and links the 2 pieces together. I like that it has a little gate. I like that it's heavy. I like that it's pretty. And maybe if I can find more of these, because that has a lot of panels to it. How many panels does that have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 2 of those are little gates. I think that's really classy looking, and it would free me up a whole bunch of my magic squares so that I could put them around individual plants in spaces where I don't actually need a fence. I think I might have enough just to reach all the way around. I'm wondering if maybe this is 2 kits put together, because it has 2 doors and it's a lot of squares. So I need to go look this up and find out what the product is. It doesn't have a name on it, so I need to go find out, because I absolutely love it. Alright, I think I'm going to go get some twist ties that came off some hoses out of the garage, because even with something this pretty, what is life without a little tackiness? And I'm going to move the configuration around a little bit, because I'm about 8 inches shy on both ends for reaching the chain link. Alright, I decided not to be quite so cheap, and I went and got my double-headed, double-ended snaps. So I'm going to put 1 snap there, 1 snap there. The geese are, or the ducks already are a little frustrated that they can't get in there. So that's a good sign. Alright, so some of you may be wondering, why is she closing this in? She has all this shade, she has ducks. Why is she caring about this? Why is she putting things here? The reason is that this is a spot where I have good water and I have shade. Now, what that does is it breeds some healthy little plants that maybe don't put on a lot of fruit, but they'll spread because there's lots of water. I can use this as my little nursery that I can take plants from and put into other places. Originally, I spent lots of money on hundreds of plants, put them out in my soil, and then they all died. The way that I stopped doing that was by getting one plant, putting it in one of these special spots in the backyard, and letting it spread. And now I can take from there and plant in other areas, and it doesn't cost me anything.